Hey guys, it's Jesse Alton. My friends call me Mr. Metaverse. This is going to be a part of my vlog on the Mr. Metaverse channel. And I got some new tech, got a nice little gimbal so I can shake this. Well, that didn't work. I got a nice new gimbal that I'm excited to test out. So we're going to walk and talk, and I've got my drone with me. We'll get some good drone footage in. Just want to talk about what my intentions are with my new show, the Metaverse Interop Show, and yeah, have a nice start to the day. Good morning. All right, so we're setting out. This is actually one of our favorite trails. We probably walk this trail about 3 times, if not 4 times a week, among other trails that we like to hike. I'd say this is probably my favorite one. So it's kind of a hidden gem down in the southern part of our county here. So I don't know about how many people actually know about it. Every now and then I'll run into somebody I know and we kind of look at each other like, yo, this is my special place, don't fuck this up, you know. Do not tell anybody about this place. So you can speculate where it's at, but I'll keep the name of the park to myself because this is not a travel vlog, nor is it an outdoorsman vlog. Yeah, I mean, I got some new tech. I got this nice little gimbal here, and it's all part of my goals for the year, which one of my biggest goals for the year is to start creating more content and tell my story. I mean, I've been working on the metaverse for over 10 years now, and my friends, my closest friends, you know, even most of them like still don't know what it is. So by and large, anybody who's ever been in my shoes, and there's a lot of other people who've been trying to build the metaverse for a while, it's a lonely feeling. I mean, being an entrepreneur is a lonely journey, and when I first set out to do that, I had a lot of people try to warn me, and even those that I advise today, like, you know, I try to give them that advice first, like, be sure that this is what you want, right? And for me, the metaverse is what I want. It's my ikigai, you know, it's the intersection of what I want, what I'm good at, and you know, I feel like I've been so blessed this year because, well, this past year, because OMI is getting more and more stable. We have new leaders stepping up every day, taking over and making, you know, our capabilities that much stronger. And because of the work that we've been doing in OMI, it's afforded pretty much all of us the ability to push things to the next level in 2023. So, you know, I don't know anything about video editing, don't know anything about sound design. I mean, I don't even know, you might be able to hear me out of breath right now. I don't even have a very good mic on this thing. But I do know what I'm talking about. And I like sharing knowledge. I enjoy teaching. I have the privilege of rubbing elbows with so many other creators every day. And, you know, they share their insights with me, and it's like having a vlog and having a show has always kind of been in the back of my mind as like an obvious one day kind of thing. But like, I think at the end of the year, or at the beginning of any new year, you know, they talk about like New Year's resolutions. But I really looked inward this past December. I just like, you know, I have so much to be grateful for. I have OMI, where I'm constantly hanging out with other innovators, constantly building with people who are building, you know, and sharing knowledge and celebrating this thing that we call the metaverse. You know, I've got Angell, which is a very little known incubator. We've only been incubating open source projects the last few years, but I'm starting to form a really great team. I've got folks around me that believe, and 2023 is going to be a big year for us. We're going to be doing 4 pitch competitions starting, I believe, in March is when we're thinking the first one will be. We essentially are going to raise our first venture fund, but I didn't want to be the bottleneck. I wanted to make sure that like these builders that I'm constantly rubbing shoulders with, who are constantly innovating, who need funding, I want to connect them with people who want to invest in them. We'll have our fund, and when we do, we'll make appropriate investments in founders who share our values and match our thesis, right? I believe that there's tremendous profitability in interoperability, enough that I've bet most of my life on this, right? So that I know, but there's other investors out there who share that thesis, and 2023 might not be a great year for trying to raise a venture fund. If you look at the current economic climate, there's a shitload of speculation, and most of it is not positive. So doesn't mean I'm not going to try. That's simply who I am. I'm definitely going to try, but it's not likely going to be easy. And so that's kind of what brought us to the decision to like work with what we can, have the pitch competitions, make connections, show, don't tell. And consequently, we'll be able to help a lot of founders who need money now so that they're not sitting around waiting for us to raise. And we'll also be able to show, right? Here's types of investors that would fund you. Here's types of startups that you should fund. And it's just all going to come together. So between the efforts of Angell and our incubator and this content creation push, I feel like I've got a year's worth of work ahead of me, and I'm so excited to see kind of what it becomes. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at this. This is one of my favorite parts. The sun's a little brutal, so let's go ahead and turn you around. Here it is. One of my favorite parts is these little reeds. There's water out there. There's no hood cover or anything on here, whatever it's called, so sun's a bit intense, but just a really peaceful part of the woods. And here we'll go ahead and we'll get on this trail. So, why a vlog? I think I looked down on a lot of vloggers. My mid-20s were an interesting time because I was so set on the metaverse, but it was too early. That hurt. I knew it was too early. I saw it so clearly, and I got a little bitter, being misunderstood, having so many folks have like no idea what I'm talking about. And there were clear steps forward, right? Creating content like this would have been a great move. I was out evangelizing constantly, talking to every person I could. But when I would sit down to try to write, in the early days, it was much easier. I have some like archived blogs, but I don't know. It's like my ADD would rage and I wouldn't know where to begin. And, or I'd have this self-deprecating thoughts like, you're not worthy of defining the metaverse, or, people aren't going to understand, so why even bother? And God, what a toxic thought process, right? Like, really sold myself short. And that's okay. It's part of the reflection, right? Like, what am I doing looking down on vlogging? I'm a talker. And I am a connector. And if you've ever seen my Twitter, 90% of my tweets are me celebrating other people and their work. Like, I have so much to work with so many people's stories that are worth telling, and I am worthy. So here we go, right? So the Metaverse Interop podcast, or the Metaverse Interop Show. Let's take a stop at one of my favorite places here and we'll talk a bit about it. All right, so we're at probably my dog's favorite spot, but let's go ahead and take a look. Here it is. It's just a calm, quiet place to check in. I once had a man walk into the sauna I was in, and I was meditating, and he comes in and I'm like, oh gosh, he wants to talk to me. Please don't talk to me. And he only said one thing. He said, yes, you're taking a personal inventory. I think about that all the time, actually. Especially when I'm right here. Okay, so why am I making a show, right? As I mentioned, this is for the vlog. This is kind of where you get to know me as me. I want to give it the professional intent that it deserves. You know, I have people that are pouring their heart and soul into their work, and they share their work with me regularly. And I pour my heart and soul into my work, but most of my work has really been behind the scenes. And my soul has been screaming to tell the story. And one of my biggest realizations at the end of last year was that, it makes sense in my head when I talk about like the metaverse or interoperability or, any of upcoming technologies, blockchain, AI, ML. When I talk about these things to my like friends who don't work in tech, they humor me. They're not stupid people. They understand what I'm saying, but like it's not their world. And I kind of let that be the end of that. Just like, okay, like I'm on my own here. And so I, fortunately, through the metaverse and through the communities that I've become part of over the years, I was able to meet a lot of other builders and 3D modelers and people who are just world class at what they do. And I'm comparing myself to them. Like I signed up for Bruno Simon's 3JS course, and it's amazing. And I'm like, wow, I don't know if I even have enough time to become as good at this as Bruno is. I've signed up for several 3D modeling courses, and I watch a lot of Blender tutorials in my free time, early in the morning, at night when I'm going to bed. I like to code along, I like to model along, and I get so much out of that. But when I'm alone with my thoughts, I'm comparing myself to these people, to Ducky 3D and the work that he puts out, and I'm like, wow, I'll never be that good at Blender. Or I see Don McCurdy and Robert Long and these amazing developers who are part of the Open Metaverse community, and I'm like, wow, it seems so elegant and practical when they talk about these things that they're rolling out, but how will I ever be as good as they are? And why am I comparing myself? I guess we all do it, right? Like, but one of my friends kind of told me years ago, and it resonated with me this last end of year reflection, was he said, Jesse, you hold yourself to such a high standard, and consequently you expect everyone else to operate at that level, and you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed. And I'm like, I think about that all the time. And when I look at my own skills, right? Like when I look at all these people's stacks that I'm comparing myself against, it's like, I'll never be that good. Wow. Like, what's the point? But I want to be good. And so I study it every day, right? Everything I study means that I can communicate that much better with developers and with builders. And every time I make something, I'm getting that much closer to actually learning it, rather than, you can watch YouTube videos all day long, but if you're not actually applying any of this stuff, then it's hard to know if you're actually learning. So it was through these reflections that, I kind of had to ask myself, why do I feel like shit? Like, I basically get to solve different problems every single day. And I joke and say I do whatever I want because I want to be doing what I'm doing. And, I make a lot of money. Sorry if that's a crass way of saying it, but I do. I make a lot of money. And, people, I guess I have so much to be happy for, but like, I'm not happy. Every day I wake up, I journal, and most mornings, I'm not happy. And I know I have so much to be happy about and so much to be grateful for. I get to do work that's fulfilling. I make a lot of money. I get to spend my free time with other open metaversers, and I feel like I'm making a real impact. But I was miserable and have been miserable because I'm doing too much, and so much scrambling, trying to catch up to these other experts. And I keep adding more to the plate, like, I gotta learn Node now because I want to actually understand why this uses Node. And, then you go down the NPM rabbit hole, and or maybe I'm, see somebody starting an open source project that I know I can add value, and I go to get involved there, and things take off great, and they stop showing up a couple weeks later. And, it's like I'm constantly scrambling to add value in places and to be seen and to have my story heard. And when I don't get nominated for awards, or it's easy to see other people, my counterparts, succeeding with NFT projects or with, other various income streams. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to associate my name with an NFT project. I don't want to push out a platform and claim to be interoperable, but only if you use our proprietary protocols. Like, I've opted out of a lot of very straightforward business moves because of the principle and the long-term strategy. You see, there's only one metaverse. You hear me talk about this a lot. And there's 4 disparate communities. There's those who are pro-blockchain and those who hate blockchain. And there's those who are open source, like strictly, and those who are proprietary. And these 4 disparate systems are all building as part of the metaverse. But it's really easy to only look at your quadrant and think that's the metaverse. And it's really easy to reject the others. So if you're somebody who hates blockchain or is adverse to NFTs, you don't really have much tolerance for people who say that they are building the metaverse and it's token gated. If you're an open source person and you really, you spend time building and working in public, and some company pushes out something that they claim is open, but it's all proprietary, like, you're going to reject them, right? And so it's like, it's way easier. There's a million reasons why the metaverse shouldn't work. And it really starts with these 4 disparate communities that in many ways it's really easy to hate each other. And so I've worked really hard to help people see kind of where there's common ground. And I'm proud of that. But there's been a lot of self-sabotage along the way where it's like, in the name of these disparate communities and me wanting them to be able to get along, I've chosen to sit out of paths to revenue. And so that kind of gets to why I've been, I guess, unhappy is, I make a lot of money, but I have a day job. And that day job is fulfilling. I add a ton of value as a consultant, but it's a day job. It's not my company. And I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur. So it's interesting because I've always been supposed to be a tech entrepreneur, and always, that's where my heart lies, is in tech, very much so. But I've looked down on simple income streams, right? Like, now there's nothing I want more. I want to open up a hot dog stand downtown that does vegan hot dogs, and they're always available. Pizza, little resell pizza slices from the local pizza place. So when the pizza place closes, you can still get pizza slices from one of these little corner booths. Those little teeny tiny ideas are my favorite these days. The reason is because they're simple passive income streams. And so I had to have an honest conversation with myself. Like, is there really something wrong with being a content creator? Isn't this directly in my wheelhouse? Like, I'm a storyteller. I'm a creator. This is what I should be doing. And so, no, I'm not going to get rich overnight from making YouTube videos. And it's unlikely that I'm going to make as much money as I make right now making YouTube videos in the next, year or two. So this isn't going to be the way that I quit, but these little pieces add up. They stack up. These little income streams, these little broadcast points where I'm able to tell my story and help announce other people's stories, it all adds up. And that brings back to my main point. I see other people's stacks, and they're an amazing 3D modeler or an incredible developer, and I'm like, I'll never be that good. But when you look at my own stack, my stack is deep too. I've worked in BD, business development. I've worked in product. I've been a designer. I've led research teams. I've been a chief product officer. I've been a CEO. I've been a director of new initiatives, which is such a hilarious title. It all boils down to, like, I'm somebody who's reliable at getting things started off strong and aligning projects that maybe they have, analysis paralysis. Maybe they haven't figured out their business model. Maybe there's developers who argue about which tech stack they should use. I'm the guy that you call to come in and solve those problems. Maybe you have an unruly client. I'm the guy you call to solve these problems. I'm really proud of being that person, and I'm proud to apply those skills to the metaverse, but I'm doing myself a disservice by only keeping those talents reserved for behind closed doors at my day job. So I'm hoping this serves as another vessel. And when I really started to look at my own stack, how deep my stack is, I got proud. People seek me out all the time. So why do I think I'm not worthy? Just because somebody else is a great 3JS developer and somebody else is a really good 3D modeler, or someone else knows how to make shaders. Holy crap. Shaders? GLSL? And what's coming with WebGPU? Being good at making shaders is like the closest thing to being a wizard. Whoa, you want to feel bad about yourself? Look at how somebody coded a shader from scratch. Like, I want to do this. So that's why I'm doing it. This is just the beginning. All right, so I guess let's continue on our walk. There's been so many times that I've been walking in these woods and been like, wow, I wish I had a gimbal and a camera. Or wow, I should come back here more often and by myself and just create content. And this is me doing it, right? Like, I edited my first video. It was the welcome to the Metaverse Interop Show video, and I edited it using Blender because that's like the only tool I know. And it's not the best editing, but I learned a lot. And I feel like between the vlog and the Metaverse Interop Show, I can probably get pretty good at making decent content within a few months, as long as I'm consistent. So my hope is that if I set myself up to do vlogging regularly and to do these interviews and demos regularly, that as long as I'm just creating something almost every day, my knowledge will compound. So that's my hope. Hopefully you can be patient with me, because again, I don't know what I don't know, but I will know once I know what I don't know. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna turn around all fancy because, watch out for these bushes. Turn around fancy because this is one of the best parts of these woods. Like this part, especially when it snows. I'll definitely have to come back out here when it snows, but these reeds, the water, I mean, you come down this pathway and it's just stunning. Like, it is. It's stunning. Get here. All right, so this seems like a great place to take off the drone. I kind of walked out here to fly the drone as well, so I'll be sure to put that footage in. All right, so there you have it. I mean, of course, I think I said I don't know what I don't know. I'll probably make mistakes. Of course, I forgot my SD card for the drone, so footage is gonna be a bit shorter than originally expected, but this is where I come out to think, and it's a beautiful place right here in South County, southern Anne Arundel County, Maryland. I want to make more content, so if you like this video and anything about this video, let me know. I'm a big advocate for retrospectives and reflecting on what went well, what could have gone better, what we're going to try different next time. So maybe let me know what went well, what could have gone better and what I should try different next time. And I'm gonna have to traverse this. It's a good park, but it does flood. So fortunately, I got these water-friendly shoes. All right, so we got through that first one, but there's a lot more of these coming up. So I think I'll probably pause on the recording, get through some of these crazy little miniature caldegas, like this. And then I'll chat with you when we get all the way down there at the corner. So we're getting down to the other end of the beach here, and it's a beautiful day for this. I mean, I think it said it was in the 30s, or maybe we're up to the 40s by now, but it doesn't feel cold. I'm glad I did this. I probably, if I know my partner Caroline, I'll probably have to come right back here with the dogs because I selfishly came out here by myself so that I could record some content for you all. But this part that we're coming up to, I post a lot of photos from this corner, and whatever, you know, I'll just show you. I think you'll like it. All right, here it is. This whole part, there's usually somebody sitting down here because it comes to this peninsula and it's beautiful. There's so many mixtures of textures and materials, and it would be great to make something like this in Blender. Of course, leave it to Mr. Metaverse to come up with ways of taking something that's already perfect in physical world and saying this would be sweet in the digital world. And we'll get down there to that corner. This part's always real treacherous. But we made it. All right, so this last part gets a little windy. It's actually always windy just because of where it's situated. So probably won't be able to do very much commentary. I'll try to get some good shots as I walk, but making my way back towards the car now. Feeling like I got some pretty good shots, like this one. All right, I adjusted one of the knobs on here, so it's possible the content just gets brighter. Again, I'm learning as I go. It's also possible that it has no effect, in which case I would cut this part. Maryland is a magical place. I mean, there's so much to be seen here. We have a ton of parks, but we have more coasts than I guess most people see in their lifetime. And I think that's probably what I'm so drawn to, is the water. I'm sure the audio here is not very good, but the sound of the waves, it's something that's, I think, every Annapolitan identifies with. So this next part is another place to just come and sit and think. This is where I like to get away. Best part is, this is not even like our pretty season. I mean, most things are dead right now. It's, like I mentioned earlier, in the 30s or 40s right now, Fahrenheit. And this is probably like a pretty standard January morning here, but it's still so beautiful. So I come here and it's kind of the opposite of the metaverse. I come here to get away from my screens, stretch my legs. I do trail running. I'm a swimmer, but I'm scared to swim in this water. I'm working on that too. But there's so many things to come here and do, and it's been a really great place for me personally to grow. So I've thought about starting a show many times, walking on this very trail. And I felt like it was fitting to do a vlog episode, kind of kicking off my year of content creation with why, you know? The number one question as a product person is why. So I want to help people, and consequently, helping enough people will be helping myself. I intend to become a venture capitalist, funding metaverse founders who leverage and contribute towards open standards of interoperability. I know that's a mouthful, but my belief is that collaboration makes it noticeably more possible to achieve metaverse interoperability. You know, a lot of people have ideas for how the metaverse should work and what constitutes interoperability. But at the end of the day, there's really two main blockers to the success of interop. The first is ego. The second is IP, or intellectual property. I can't do very much about the big companies like Microsoft's IP restrictions. You know, in the long haul, I believe that we can inspire these big companies to do something about their IP restrictions, but it's not gonna happen overnight. They have really great lawyers for a reason, who've worked really hard to try to find the language and to come to terms on how they're gonna handle their intellectual property. So, you know, if you wanna be Master Chief from Halo, and you wanna be able to be Master Chief from Halo in a non-Microsoft owned metaverse world, it's probably gonna be really hard. So let's accept that part, that the IP part is a conundrum that professionals are going to have to work through. I can tell them why they should work through it, but it's not my place to tell them how to work through it. But ego, we can do something about ego. See, if 10 different companies pump out their own standards for avatar interoperability, and they all claim that their standard is the answer, right? Use our SDK, build on our SDK, you'll be building the metaverse. You know, we've solved avatar interoperability. You just have to use our APIs. There's generally a catch when it comes to these proprietary solutions. See, these really smart people have the answers, but they can't always agree. And I like to boil it down to they just refuse to bend the knee to each other. And I can't blame them. I don't want to be told what to do. I'm not going to bend the knee to somebody else. That's not my style. So I know I'm not the only one. And when I set out to do something about the metaverse, you know, it became apparent that even if I wanted to make an interoperable inventory system and do that as like inventory as a service, I would need to convince platform owners to implement my inventory as a service application, as well as whatever the underlying connecty bits are. So I would essentially be setting the standards and then hoping that these other platforms code according to my standards. And when you have really smart people pouring their heart and soul into their own platforms, it's really hard to get them to want to do it my way. You know, who the hell am I? That's what I ask. Who are you? Just declare that you have the standard. So what do we do about it, right? Well, if those 10 theoretical platforms are all concerned with avatar interoperability and theoretically working towards a solution, well, why don't they form a roundtable, have an open discussion, and co-create those protocols? now they can all get credit. Anybody who wants to be part of this can get credit. And so that's kind of where OMI, or the Open Metaverse Interoperability group, came from, was this call to action where it became apparent that like we can divide ourselves with death by 1,000 paper cuts and all fail while we wait for the big companies to come around and do it all for us, or because we're more nimble and don't have those crazy IP restrictions, since we can move faster, why don't we band together, keep the door open for the big companies, and show, don't tell, show what co-created protocols could really look like. And so that's what we did. And it became my calling. I ran for a leadership position. I was a co-founder of the group, but ran for an elected position, and it became my primary focus outside of my day job. It just consumed me because I knew that if we could get OMI right, everything else would become a little bit more possible. And if I want to be a venture capitalist investing in founders who implement interoperable capabilities in their platform, well, then those capabilities need to exist, and they need to have a certain level of reliability or authority that if you implement those standards in your platform, you're not going to be screwed a year from now when a new best thing comes out, right? And so we paused the efforts to raise a fund and focused on OMI full time for nearly the last 2 years. So Angell is a community. It's my baby. I've been trying to build Angell for over 10 years now. When I first set out, Angell was going to be, in my opinion, the metaverse. I thought I could build the metaverse. And anyways, over the years, it became more apparent that other people had this idea too. And so really, I'm building a platform in the metaverse. And then it became apparent that with my skills in product and design, that the engineers who knew how to build the metaverse, the best way I could add value for them was to speak for the user and to speak for the business. I always had a chip on my shoulder about not being a developer, but I add a lot of value when it comes to those other two pieces of the puzzle. So I wanted to build interoperable products, and that's kind of where this interoperable inventory concept came from, which ultimately, after a few years of claiming to be working in stealth and really just not getting very far, I started conducting customer discovery. And while chatting with these people building these platforms, it became apparent that they were going to do it their way. They were polite, but they would say, like, what have you done that's so novel? What have you done that others aren't already doing? And that could have, I guess, made most people quit. You know, I finally found the people who know how to build it. But they're like, who are you? And so I put in the time. OMI is much larger than me now. OMI has builders from all over the world, various different indies and platforms, some that use blockchain, some that don't use any blockchain, but they came together. And the co-creation is what I think keeps us all coming back. It's like a support group. Support group that actually builds, right? So we're not just talking about it, we're building, and we build intentionally. It was also, it was really tempting when we first started OMI. I'm like, oh my God, it's finally happening. And so it was tempting when we first started OMI to, just hit the ground running and sprint ahead. But we were reflecting on other groups that have tried things like this before, and oftentimes their downfall is this reckless sprinting ahead, right? There's this concept of just build, bro. And some of that's right. You do need to be building. If you're just watching YouTube videos, you're not reinforcing your learning, right? So build, apply what you're learning. But just build, bro is not a very good mantra, because recklessly building without being mindful of the systems that you're creating in your wake that's a serious risk. And with OMI, because we had folks from around the world and they had different backgrounds and interests and different tolerance levels for different sectors, as I mentioned, right? For-profit, not-for-profit, blockchain, no blockchain. The very concept of defining the metaverse when we first set out would have been career suicide for us. I mean, if somebody didn't agree with our definition, we would have to argue about the definition. And next thing you know, we'd be bifurcating into multiple different sects of the definition, and it just wasn't worth it. So I had to fight that urge. The next urge is to roadmap the metaverse, right? And you see people doing this. Look, I've worked on dozens and dozens of teams in the last 10 years. I've worked on nearly 50 in just the last 3 years alone that I've consulted for. And I've helped people make a lot of roadmaps. I don't care if you're the best product manager in the world, you shouldn't be making the roadmap in isolation. I don't care if you've been working in the metaverse for 30 years, you shouldn't be making the roadmap in isolation. Your company should not be roadmapping the metaverse. It's inappropriate and it makes you look like an asshole. If you want to roadmap the metaverse, it should be done collaboratively, because no one company can ever own the metaverse. So, I know I'm on a high horse right now, but when people are like, here's our roadmap for the metaverse, I'm not interested. This race to show that you're the first person to think of something is foolhardy, because you're not the first person to think of it. So when OMI set out, as much as I have experienced creating roadmaps, as much as I've obsessed and walked this path and many paths like it, thinking about the metaverse, it was inappropriate for me and for us to roadmap it. If you're a platform in the metaverse, creating a roadmap for your platform, that is totally good. That's acceptable. Totally do that. But there's a difference, and it's only a small difference. It's just the difference between roadmapping and roadmapping your part of the metaverse. So when we set out, we created these 5 core values. Because we had people around the world immediately poured into the server and answered the call for this roundtable, we held a session at 6 a.m. Eastern and a session at 6 p.m. Eastern, 2 days in a row, to try to accommodate for the various time zones. And I'm glad that we did, because we were able to get a pretty well-rounded, diverse set of core values. But one of the critical core values that we have at OMI is iterating and operating with intent. So we don't claim to be perfect. I don't claim to be perfect, but we roll up our sleeves. We do the work that needs to get done until we can prove ourselves worthy of attracting talent that can do the job even better. That's kind of been the philosophy. Do what we can. Do what we can to make more people want to contribute, and to make more people want to test these protocols. And I think we're doing it. We have tons of platforms that join each month that slowly get involved more and more. And it's because they share that belief, right? Open standards of interoperability, they open up new revenue streams and satisfy a number of different viability requirements. They make it easier and more consistent to build quality metaverse worlds and experiences. So they satisfy the feasibility requirements of the metaverse. And ultimately, what really excites me is it makes for a more rich user experience. If I don't have to shed my skin each time I log into a new metaverse experience, and if I could invite friends to my metaverse home space and they can drop a portal that takes us to some game or a virtual world or an art gallery, regardless of which platform it's in. All right, if we can meet up at my spot, jump in a portal, put on our favorite gear or outfits, jump in a portal and go, man, users want that. Some of them might not even know they want it. But if you're the type of person who pays $10 to upgrade your Call of Duty skin or Fortnite skin, keep in mind that you can only use that there. Imagine if you paid $10 to unlock a skin and it went in your inventory. And you could put that skin on in any other world that allows you to wear that skin. Any other world that lets you have a golden gun or a purple leopard furry king's coat. What are those called? With like the white fur and the black spots and the regal purple silk or velvet. Is it velvet? I don't know. I need one of those. And I want it to be interoperable. That's why I push for this, right? If more people adopt the standards, more people will become aware of what's possible. More funding will flow in that direction. As new innovations and new products start to emerge, more possibilities for entrepreneurs to start businesses that matter, right? Like that's worth waking up for every day. Look, if you like this content, please go ahead and subscribe, like below. The vlogging will probably always be raw like this, just me being me. And if you want to really support me, go check out the Metaverse Interop Show. That's my new show on YouTube. Username is @1Metaverse because there's only one Metaverse. The Metaverse Interop Show. I'll be releasing content probably 2 or 3 times a week. I have amazing people slated to come on the show in the next few weeks. So hoping to just be pretty consistent there and be pretty consistent here. And yeah, if you have feedback for me, please share in the comments below. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. It's getting a little noisy. You guys, let's build the metaverse together.